Hi, Sykes and Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book to read for you. Today's book is Peter Pan and Captain Hook for 1972. So let's get started. It was the best time of the day. The lamp was lit in the bedroom. Wendy sat by the fire. Tell us a story, Wendy, said her brother. John, a private story with an Indian in it, cried Michael. So Wendy told her brother a story. It had privates and Indians in it, but it began with Peter Pan. Peter Pan was a boy. He was very brave. He can crow like a rooster. Best of all, he can fly. He could fly high. He could fly low. He could race with the clouds and chase the stars. He could slide down the rainbow. Peter's best friend was tiny fairy Tinkerbell. Tinker could fly too. She never talked, but she would stand on Peter's hand. Tiny light flashed, and she made tinkly sound. Peter could always understand her. Peter and Tinker lived in Neverland. It was a magic place. Indians camped in the woods. There was private ship in the bay near Skull Rock, and there was Hangman Tree. Peter's home was a secret cave under Hangman Tree. He lived in the cave with his friends. These friends were the Lost Boys. They had no mother or father, but they did have Peter and Tinker in the safe cave. One day, Peter and Tinker went out flying. The Lost Boys could not fly. They tried to think of something else to do, something that would be fun. I know, said one. Let's go fight the Indians. We can creep on them, said another. We'll catch them, cried a third. They began creeping through the woods. They began going toward the Indian camp, said one of the boys. An Indian may be hiding behind every tree. There was not an Indian behind every tree. There was an Indian inside every tree. The Indian leaped out and caught the Lost Boys. Help, Peter, shouted the boys. Tinkerbell, save us. Peter and Tinkerbell did not hear the boys. Peter and Tinker was on Skull Rock. Look, said Peter. He pointed across the water. Tinker looked and saw a boat. In it, she saw Peter's enemy, the terrible private Captain Hook. She also saw Hook's mate, Mr. Snives, and she saw Tiger Lily, the beautiful Indian princess. Tiger Lily was tied with thick ropes. The poor girl was Captain Hook's prisoner. Suddenly, there was a loud tick-tock, tick-tock. It came from a crocodile swimming near the boat. Captain Hook jumped out of the boat. He climbed up onto the rocks. The crocodile followed me everywhere, he cried. He wants to eat me. Lucky for you, he followed that clock, said Snives. The tick-tock always tell you where he's near. Snives lifted Tiger Lily onto Skull Rock. Tell me where Peter Pan lives, said Hook, or you will never leave Skull Island. You codfish, shouted Peter, flying down. He pulled Snives' cap over his eyes. Then he flew over to Captain Hook. He pushed him right into the water. Peter untied Tiger Lily. He carried her up and away from Skull Rock. Peter flew with Tiger Lily to the Indian camp. The Lost Boys were there. They were still tied up. Tiger Lily's father was at the camp too. He was a great chief with many feathers in his headdress. You saved Tiger Lily, he said. Because of that, we will let your friend go. We will have a feast and sing and dance. But where was Tinkerbell? Tinker had stayed at Skull Rock. She was watching Captain Hook swim away from the on the tick-tock and crocodile. The captain leaped from the water. He was shaken with fear. Tinkerbell laughed and laughed. Suddenly, Mr. Smythe popped his cap over Tinker and stopped laughing. "Cheer up, Captain," said Smythe. "We have lost Tiger Lily, but we have something better. We have Peter Pan's best friend, Tinkerbell." Peter Pan and the Lost Boys would leave in the Indian camp. It was very late. The deep forest was dark. They needed Tinkerbell's flashlight to show them the way. "Tinker must be at home," said Peter. They came to Hangman Tree. They stepped on a mushroom beside the path. Then they pressed a knothole near the lower branch. The door to the secret cave opened. No jingling, ringing sound then greeting them. No fairy light flashing out of to cheer them. The cave was empty. "What had happened to Tinkerbell?" cried Peter Pan. Michael pulled at Wendy's hand. "What did happen to Tinkerbell?" he asked. "What did Captain Hook do with her?" "He took her to the private ship," said Wendy. "What then?" asked John. Captain Hook and Mr. Smythe plotted a terrible plot. They wanted to make Peter Pan come to the private ship to save Tinkerbell. Then they would capture Peter. The pirates locked Tinkerbell in the lantern outside the ship cabin. There she stayed, tinkling and shining and calling for help. But now Peter Pan was looking for Tinkerbell. He flew here and there across Neverland. Finally, he saw the fairy light on the private ship. Quickly, Peter flew to Hangman Tree. "Captain Hook have Tinkerbell," he told the Lost Boys. "We have to save her." Quietly, the boys swam from shore to the private ship. Quietly, they climbed up the rope and onto the deck. Peter flew to the top of the top of the mast. "Hook, you are a codfish," he crowded. The privates rushed out of the deck. "It's Peter," shouted Hook. "Fire the cannon, Mr. Smythe." Smythe tried to fire the cannon, but one of the boys ran off with the cannonball. Another boy chased Smythe around the deck with a shiny sword. Peter flew down the mast. He cut the feather off Captain Cook's hat. The frightened private fell into the sea, but who was waiting in the water? The ticking crocodile was waiting. Captain Hook swam for his life. He swam and he swam and he swam. For all we know, he is still swimming. Peter and the Lost Boy let Tinkerbell out of the lantern. Then they hurried to their secret cave under Hangman Tree. "What happened then?" asked Peter. "Peter Pan and Tinkerbell and the Lost Boy went to sleep," said Wendy, "and that's where you are going." She tucked her brother into bed. "Is there really a Peter Pan?" asked John. "Will we ever see him?" "Perhaps someday," said Wendy. Later that night, a soft tinkling sound woke Wendy. She saw flashing lights. Then a boy's shadow flew past the window. Wendy smiled. Then she finally saw Peter Pan. At last she had seen his shadow and had heard Tinkerbell tinkling sound. Wendy's eyes closed again, and she was fast asleep. So that was Peter Pan and Captain Hook for 1972. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, have a good every day. We'll have another video coming out real soon.